I'm here.
Hi,
Hi.
how are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm good. I'm happy to see you today.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for the invitation.
Of course, today should be a good one. So, I worked really hard on this one. We shall see.
My voice isn't really loud, so I'm working on that.
I totally understand. I've been coughing all night.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Did
I
you
guess
ever go to the doctor?
not yet. I knew you were going to say that. I did just make an appointment to take one of our cars to the dealership and renew the passport. So, I did some adulting today.
Right.
She said, I don't care about any of that. I will make a doctor's appointment, I promise you.
Yeah, you definitely need to make an appointment.
Yeah, I know. It's gotten bad.
I mean, this time of year is really bad all by itself.
Right? I agree. Can
Hmm.
you see my screen okay?
I can. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, we will see. Give people just a minute to get in here.
I don't know why my sound isn't very good. I'll probably have to ask John. I wish I were more competent in that area, but I'm not.
Okay. You are competent in lots of other areas.
Well, compared to what I was 6 years ago, I'm like a superstar now
Yeah.
with IT stuff.
Well, I think you're capable of quite a bit. You don't give yourself enough credit for what you can do.
Sorry for you.
No, don't be. You're fine.
I just got back from a meeting over at my office, and it takes like 45 minutes or something like that to drive over. So
Yeah.
barely
How'd
got.
that go today?
I hope you have other people showing up too.
Me too.
I hate for you to work so hard and it's only me.
Yeah, it's okay. I've recorded anyway, and I'll repurpose it, so it's totally fine. It's just I really
Yeah.
hoped that we get more people on today, but I've been out of it for a couple months, so it's just not people's habit, like it
Oh
was.
yeah,
Yeah,
I understand
yeah,
the habits and how easy it is to break them and how hard it is to get them back again.
yeah, right. So we will. Here we go. Here's Kim, and Jess is coming. I'm just not seeing a lot of the Zoom pop-ups asking to be admitted in, so I don't want to miss those.
Recording in progress.
All right. Well, I am going to get started. Oh, don't worry. Hi, Kim. Glad that you're here. I am just letting a couple other people in the room real quick, and we will get started. I'm super excited about today because this is the area that I think just about every agent I know struggles with. I don't think some of us have actually even been taught properly how to follow up with leads. We kind of just do our best in getting by. But what I have found is that a lot of agents that I know struggle with, okay, well, how much is too much communication? How often is too often? What do I send to follow up? And then how do I get them to respond to me? So most agents, really struggle with knowing what to do and when. And a lot of my coaching clients also, they live in the South. And when you live in the South, you start to put some barriers in front of you that are like, hey, I don't want to be pushy. And sometimes when we live in the South, like when it comes to sales, we often feel like we are being pushy with people. And so we don't know, okay, well, you know, how often should I follow up with these people? What should I say to them? How do I get them to respond to me? What kinds of things of value do I offer them to get them to actually respond to me? And so we're going to talk about that today. We are actually going to just talk about, because to me, following up is actually an art form. It is actually something that you get better at and you get skilled at the more you practice it. And so what I've done today is given you kind of like why follow up is so important, but also the various ways that you're going to follow up. And you get to choose. I have a 3-3-3 follow up system. I have a 5-5-5 follow up system. And then there's a 10-10-10. And you can decide which feels good to you, which way feels the best to you. But typically the 3-3-3 is going to be that you're going to follow up immediately when the lead comes in. You're going to send something out 3 days later, and then you're going to send something out 3 weeks later. Well, to me, 3-3-3 is a little too much time in between the additional follow-ups. So I prefer the 5-5-5, which is basically every 5 days I am following up with them. Now, I would say you should probably go somewhere between 3 and 5 days when your initial first 3 to 4 follow-ups, and then spread it out a little bit further if you still haven't gotten responses from people. So let's get into it. If you don't mind, just give me a heads up. Can everybody see my screen that I'm sharing? That's where you got to answer me because I can't see your heads rattle. Yes, yes, yes. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Okay, let's get going. Who am I? Like, I know most of you know who I am, but I do have some new people on here. My name is Laura Dahl. I am a realtor, a second generation realtor. My mother was also in this business, but I'm also a growth coach nationally for agents all over the country. I run a team in North Carolina and Tennessee. I have been a broker in Virginia, South Carolina, Tennessee, and North Carolina. I've owned 2 real estate firms in my career, and I've been doing this since Moby Dick was a minnow, pretty much for 25 years. I think I'm getting ready to be on my 26th year, so I might have to update that, but I don't want to show my age there. So I do have a lot of experience with lead follow-up. I've been generating leads for 25 years, teaching other agents how is best to follow up with leads. And obviously, my approach has morphed and changed over the years as we've added technology and tools, but also we have to try different methods to try to reach people these days because people are inundated with thousands and thousands of emails a day. They get hit with a lot of text messages wanting to know if they want quotes for insurance or your car's extended warranty or whatever. We want to try to reach them in methods that work. We want to try to reach them with methods that actually get them to respond to you. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So why does follow-up matter? So 80% of all sales require a minimum of 5 follow-ups. I will tell you that most agents quit after 1 or 2 attempts to try to reach someone. I also want to remind you that it is actually 8 times harder to convert a cold lead than it is a warm lead. Some of your leads in your database are very cold. They are people you've met either once or never met them. You generated them somehow online. They are strangers to you. And it is 8 times harder to convert a stranger lead than somebody you already know. But one of the things that I will tell you is the more consistent you are with your follow-up, it actually builds trust and rapport with these internet strangers. The more they see your face, the more they see your name in their email, the more items of value that you can provide to them, the more they understand that you are professional and this is what you do for a living. And you're going to have to come up with the strategy that works best for you. And you're going to have to figure out, what is the best way for you to follow up with that particular client type based on the type of client they are. Common mistakes that most agents make when it comes to follow-up, most agents are a one and done approach. The lead comes in, they call right away. I will tell you, most of the agents, even that I coach, the lead comes in and guess what they do? They resort to an email. Because then that doesn't require vulnerability. I don't have to get rejected. I don't get shot down. I also don't have to be worried about what they say or what they ask because I get to control the conversation and I just sit behind a keyboard and send out an email. They also do generic mass emails or generic texts. They're not personalized to the client. They're not personalized to the prospect. They are sent out. And generally, when you send out mass emails or texts, guess where they go? Spam, right? So most of the people aren't even seeing the emails that you're sending out if you're sending them through generic mass emails or text messages. Another common mistake is that they follow up too aggressively. They are constantly sending an email every day or a text message every day. And I know when I first got my license, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, we were taught you continue to follow up until the person dies or buys. And I will tell you that, you're going to value your time. You're going to have to categorize these leads based on what type of lead they are and their motivation. Are they hot, ready to buy within the next 30 days? Are they kind of lukewarm or are they kind of cold and they require some nurturing? And based on the type of lead that they are, you're going to find the sweet spot of how often you need to reach out to them, what ways you try to reach them. But I will tell you, the last biggest mistake that I see is that agents have no structured system. The leads come in, they write things down on a Post-it note, maybe they're in their phone as a text message that came in, but they don't save the person, they don't put them in their CRM, they don't set reminders to follow up with them at regular intervals, and they have no system for, hey, this is the third touch, what do I send? This is the fifth touch, what do I send? I want you to have a systematic plan. Every lead that comes in, regardless of where it came from, you follow up with the same approach. You're going to tweak that approach based on the type of lead that it is and based on whether or not you've gotten a response or based on the information that you have. Excuse me. So I want to introduce to you first the 333 follow-up system. The 333 means that you are going to respond within the first 3 minutes. I will probably tell you 2 minutes, but that doesn't work with 333. So we changed it to 333. But within the first 3 minutes of that lead coming in, there should be some kind of quick response, whether that is a text, a phone call, or an email, or all three. You guys know me. You know I'm going to recommend that you do a video text if possible. I want them to know that you're a human. I want them to know that this is not a bot. This is not some type of AI thing responding to them. This is a real human that is a professional that is ready, willing, and able to talk to them about their real estate needs. Then you're going to, after your initial response, according to the 333 follow-up system, you are also going to follow up with some item of value within 3 days. And typically this would say 3 days later. And then 3 weeks later, you're going to continue some engagement. I will send out, if you guys send me an email at lauradahl@epique.me, EPIQUE.me, I'll be happy to send you this slideshow that has the links to all of these resources that I have available. But this 333 follow-up system basically says within the step one, in the first 3 minutes, you're going to give them some kind of immediate response. As the lead comes in, you're going to follow up within 3 minutes or as quickly as possible. Speed is the way to go. Like speed to the lead increases your chance of conversion by within 2 minutes. If you have responded to the lead, it goes down 50% every minute after that. So beyond 3 minutes, your chances of converting the lead are much, much lower. You definitely want to call, text, or email the lead with a friendly and direct message. Some examples would be like, hey, Maria, thanks for inquiring about 123 Main Street. When would be a good time for us to chat about what you're looking for? I'm trying to find out more about her search criteria. I could also say, hey, Maria, I saw your request come through. I saw you were shopping online on my website, or I received your information from my team that you might be interested in purchasing in the Nashville area. Are you available for a quick call to discuss your home search? Right? I'm trying to get her to answer a question. Don't just follow up. And this is what I see a lot of times is that an agent will say, hey, Maria, this is Laura Dahl with Epique Realty. I just wanted to follow up with you and see how I could help you. I'm a realtor in the Nashville area, and I just want to see how I might be of help. That is not actually a question that you're asking me that warrants a response. To me, that's a sales call that is very low value. You're not trying to book an appointment with me. You're just saying, I want to follow up with you and see how I might be able to help you. I would ask pointed questions that say, hey, I would love an opportunity to talk to you about how we could work together. I would love to talk to you about the Nashville market right now and what to expect. That is a non-invasive way of saying, let's talk about the market instead of being very specific to talk about what you're looking for. Ultimately, that is my goal, right? On step 2, 3 days later, you're going to follow up with some item of value. And I'm going to go back and click on that in just a second for you so you can see some suggestions of items of value that I think you should have. And some items that you might send would be a property that matches their interests. So let's say that they came into your website, you saw that they were looking at 123 Main Street. You can see that 123 Main Street is worth it's on the market for $450,000. You can see that it's 2,200 square feet. So I might ask questions that say, hey, are you looking only in this zip code? Or I noticed that the house you liked was in the subdivision of ... What do you know about this subdivision? Or are you looking beyond this area or zip code or school zone or something like that? You could also send a market update or some type of market statistics or market report, letting them know what the market is like in the area at the moment. What do people want to know when you say a market report? Think about what a buyer might want to know. They want to know how quickly I need to move on something when I see it. So how much inventory is there available? Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? Are sellers getting 99 or 100% of their list price, or what percent of their list price are they getting? Are sellers willing to pay concessions right now? These are all things that a buyer is going to want to know before they ever go shopping for a house. These are the things you kind of want to educate them about what to expect. What are our out-of-pocket expenses before we actually go to closing? What would I be responsible for? I have a home to sell in Connecticut. Is it possible in my market to get a home sale contingency approved? These are things that you're going to want to go over with them. And these are also items that you could be providing as items of value to them. One of the things that I do want to suggest to you, because we all have tools available to us that allows us to download various marketing reports or various market updates. Most consumers don't know how to translate that into the answers to the questions that I mentioned to you. How many months inventory is available? What is the average sales price in that county? How many houses are there currently for sale? Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? Are sellers paying closing costs? Are home sale contingencies being accepted? Or are we in multiple offer situations? Those kinds of things. If you're going to do a market update, you need to actually translate that market update report for them in simplified language. So you could also do a recorded video where you go through the report and give them the data that tells them the information, the answers to those questions, right? You might also have a lead magnet that's like a first-time home buyer's guide or a home value report for a seller that's coming up. You may also decide to have some kind of, a budget worksheet or how to save for a down payment or the top 20 items that come up on a home inspection or things of value that would be important to a potential buyer. What kinds of things do you have to send to them, right? Your follow-up scripts are going to look like, hey, Maria, I found a home that fits your criteria. Would you like for me to send you the details? Do you want to see where it's located? Do you want to see inside? Hey, Maria, I saw a new house that came on the market today. This is one of my follow-up strategies, especially if I'm scouring the MLS every day as one of my activities to help me build my business. I'm going to look and say, hey, I see that a new house came on the market in the 37221 zip code today. And that's the zip code that Maria is looking in. So I might reach out to Maria and say, hey, I saw a new house came on the market today in your zip code. Would you like for me to send you the details? So I'm finding a listing that I think would be interesting to her, but I'm reaching out to her to say, hey, I have a house that I think might work for you. And if it doesn't work for her, that's okay. The goal is to get them to talk to you. The goal is to get them to respond to you. The goal is to get them to interact with you. Once you have someone interacting with you and responding to you, all of a sudden they move further down the funnel where now they're not just a lead, now they're a prospect, and I'm trying to move the prospect to a client, right? Ultimately, your goal should always be when a lead comes in, regardless of how it was produced, you want to move the lead down the funnel to take them from a prospect or a cold lead to a prospect or an opportunity. And then that is going to then turn into a buyer consultation appointment, right? Whether that is via Zoom or that is on FaceTime or that is face-to-face, belly-to-belly in my office. The goal is to get a buyer consultation appointment so that you can explain to them how you work, talk about how you're going to get paid, give them market statistics and tell them what the market is like, be able to answer the questions that they have about this process, refer a lender to them, all of those things that you're going to do during a buyer consultation appointment. But your goal is to first, when you have a cold lead, your goal is just to get them to respond to you. So what kinds of things, and I want you to think about that when you are crafting your emails and text messages to them, the goal is to get them to respond. So if you are very passive and just say, hey, I'm following up with you. I'm following up with you on this house on 123 Main Street and want to see if you have interest in taking a look at it. That's asking a direct question that I would want a response for. If I just say, hey, I'm following up with you to see how I can help you with your real estate needs, that doesn't require a response. And that's not even going to make her want to respond to me. So what I want you to do is to think about what your end goal is. Your goal is to get an appointment with them, but you've got to nurture a cold lead into a prospect and then convert them into a potential opportunity or a buyer client that is under contract with you to go look at housing. Does all that make sense to everybody? Because I can't see y'all's faces. So now is a good time to tell me if you have any questions or comments about any of that.
Makes sense.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jess. The big thing I want to tell you here is that this one says that, after 3 weeks, you want to continue engagement with them. So I've sent them something of value. I may have doled out a couple pieces of value over those 3 weeks if I determined that that's not too much. But what I want you to know is if you still haven't gotten a response, don't give up. Reach back out again in 3 weeks. Keep it casual, keep it engaging, continue to ask questions to reignite interest. Invite them to an event or an open house or a webinar, or invite them to hop online and look at houses together on the MLS so that you can get feedback in real time about what they like or don't like. Often we as agents will send our clients, we set them up on an auto notification portal and we just let it do its thing and we wait passively for the client to say, hey, I saw a house on 123 Main Street that I like. Let's go look at it. Well, that client might not ever move off of the fence to actually go looking at houses until you invite them to go look at houses. And if you're not with a client, how do you know what they like and what they don't like? When they are shopping online at home, looking at all the houses on Zillow or Redfin or Realtor.com or wherever they're searching, you don't know when they get to a listing that they go, God, that's ugly. Or I hate that living room. Or I hate the exterior of that house. If I can hop on a call with you live and go through the MLS and look at the houses that I sent to you in the automatic portal, and you give me feedback in real time, it is almost like I've driven you around the neighborhoods and you've given me feedback, and now I have a better understanding of what you're looking for. So don't be afraid to add that as part of your process to reignite people or to get feedback from them so that you have a better idea about what they're looking for. I always recommend sending what is called a soft exit text. And this is if they've been completely responsive. You will see things like, hey, are you still looking, or has your timeline changed? I don't want to keep bothering you. A famous one that I love to use for years and years and years was, well, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to work together anymore. And it's the assumptive track that because you have not responded to me in 3 months, I'm sorry, I must have offended you, or I'm sorry that you've decided this is not the right time, or whatever it is. Often we would go through a course of 15 or 20 different high touch points only to send an email at the end that says, well, I'm sorry we're not going to be working together anymore, or I'm sorry that I may have offended you or been too pushy, or whatever the I'm sorry is. And that email would get more responses than anything else of value that we sent to them because we kind of shocked them. They just expected us to continue to send them things for infinity. And when we said, hey, you have not responded to the last 10 messages that I sent, I don't want to bother you, I don't want to waste your time. If you would, just let me know that you want me to continue to remove you from the system, or maybe now's a better time for us to re-engage, right? But don't be afraid of sending if I don't hear back from you by tomorrow, I'm going to assume you're not interested. Push them a little bit to commit to you or to get out, right? Why the 333 system works, it definitely keeps you consistent without being pushy. It does give you a balance between immediate response, it's items of value that you're providing to them, and then the patience of waiting a couple of days or a couple of weeks, depending on the system that you choose. It also helps you filter your time better so that you can focus your time on serious leads that have responded to you, that have committed to you, versus chasing cold leads that you don't have a relationship with. The other thing about it is that it does keep your leads engaged without overwhelming them, especially if you're sending them items of value that are actually not super heavy real estate related. Like a budget worksheet might be not overwhelming. It might be something helpful versus a home buyer's guide that almost comes across as homework. So definitely am going to provide all of this to you. There are some sample scripts that you guys can follow. I also have a whole list of items of value. So let's take a look at that real quick. And let me check the chat real quick to make sure I didn't miss anything. I think I'm good. All right. Items of value. So for buyers, and I have this whole list for you guys, so I'll be happy to share this with you. But you might want to give them personalized property lists. These are going to be the home search if you know any of their criteria. If you don't know their criteria and the lead came in because maybe you ran a sponsored ad on one of your listings, you're going to basically use the criteria from the lead that came in from the house that they looked at to set them up on personalized property lists. Try to find houses that are similar to the criteria that brought them in to begin with. Off-market listings are super important when you are in a fast-moving market where maybe things are in multiple offers, or it's in a very tight price range where there's not a lot of inventory available. You want to offer them access to a list of off-market homes that might be meeting their criteria, or things that are coming soon that based on your network and access to other people, you might be able to provide to them. And you want to ask things like, would you like details of it before it goes live on the market, before the public gets access to it? You want them to think and know that you have access to things before they hit the market. And that might be an advantage of hiring you over hiring somebody else. The market updates we talked about. What are the home prices doing? Are they trending up or down? Do you want to see what that means for your budget? That is a question that you want to ask them. Neighborhood guides. Are you thinking about a specific neighborhood? So like maybe in North Carolina, are you thinking about Biltmore Village? And you want to put a guide together on all the things there are to do in that neighborhood. You want to talk about local restaurants that are nearby. If I was in Nashville, I might pick McKay's Mill and talk about their walking trails, their basketball courts, their clubhouse, their gym, like all the things and amenities that neighborhood has. But I also want to highlight the fact that the neighborhood has a Publix, and it has a nail salon, it has a wine shop, it has a florist, it has a dry cleaner, it has a fast food restaurant. All of those things might be an incredible item of value that you also could use as a lead magnet to help you generate more leads. for people who are interested in that specific neighborhood. Lender recommendations are always a good item to send. Maybe you have some marketing material with your preferred lender that you can share with these prospects that say, I worked with an incredible lender. I would love to share their information. Would you like an introduction? Sometimes I don't even ask if they want an introduction. That just is one of my connection points where I reach back out and I do a group text with the lender, or I do a group email or something like that where I've CC'd both parties, introducing them to each other without asking for permission to do that. Do I have any checklists or guides that I could give to them? A video tour of a home that just hit the market. This is especially helpful if you've got out of town people that are thinking of relocating to your area or to your market. Doing a video of a house that you think might fit their needs sometimes moves people off the fence. Maybe they weren't ready for 3 more months, but you found the perfect house and now they are. I have done this before with one of my best friends in Tennessee. He was not in the market to even look at houses. We'd never even discussed looking at houses. But I found online on like Facebook, one of my friends was getting ready to list this adorable like Dahl house cottage. And I showed it to him and showed him interior pictures, even though he did not indicate or raise his hand that he wanted to buy a house. Obviously, within 30 days, he was in his dream house, his forever home. But it took me sending him the home to get him off the fence to say he was ready. And sometimes it takes just the right house, which you have to scour and find, right? There are other types of reports like how long waiting 6 months to buy could impact your payment or the sales price, especially if you've got people that are on the fence right now. The rates are in the 6s typically. We also could do some buy downs to get that rate even lower and negotiate that. But what if you've got some people that say, we definitely want to buy, but we think we want to wait a year and see if the prices come down, or we need to wait a year until we figure out what part of town we want to be in. And so these are some items of value that you might be able to send to people to get them off the fence to actually move forward with the process. For seller leads, I'll go through these really quickly. You might offer a home valuation report. How much is your house worth? Recent sales in the area. Like if I'm scouring the MLS and I see that a house just sold in their neighborhood, which is also a tip for you guys. If you ever have a listing, you should be we set buyers up on auto notifications all the time, but you should be setting your seller up on an auto notification so that they receive listings that come up in their neighborhood or in their market as they're coming on the market, because your seller also needs to be aware of what the competition is doing. And we do a good job when we take the listing of telling them that there are 20 houses for sale in their price range when we are taking the listing when we're first putting on the market. But throughout the listing period, does your seller know what has come on the market since then? Do they know that something went under contract and something closed? So anytime I take a listing, I set my seller up on an auto notification for their neighborhood or for their criteria so that they can also see what's happening around them. This is especially important if you have a seller who's maybe not being as reasonable on price, if maybe they are not getting the feedback about how their house compares to some of the other houses around them. As they watch the other houses around them sell and theirs is not, it opens up the door for communication with you to be able to reduce the price or to make some adjustments on conditions. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Staging and curb appeal tips. Small changes can help you sell for top dollar. This is another thing that maybe some people in your database might want a checklist for home maintenance ideas or things that add the most value to your home. A lot of times your sellers think that getting a new roof or replacing the countertops or whatever it is that they want to do, we want them to check with us before they invest money in doing repairs and renovations in their home, because we want to guide them to doing the ones that have the most return, the ones that are the most important to buyers. And how many times have you seen where a seller has renovated a house and they did not consult with you, and some of the selections that they made are junk, and some of the selections that they made are not attractive. Some of the selections that they made are not modern for what buyers are looking for today. And you could have avoided choosing things that do not help you sell the property if they had consulted with you. So sometimes you have to take the reins and send that to them. A seller net sheet. an estimate approximately of how much cash they would walk away with if they sold. Even if they have not agreed to list with you, you could always do a seller sample net sheet that says, based on the mortgage that you took at the time that you bought it, and based on an approximate sales price that I think your house is worth, and I can back out what the general idea of fees might be and a worst case scenario offer, I can kind of give you a roundabout estimate of what a seller net sheet would look like if you did choose to sell your house. That might be the thing that helps them decide, yes, we're ready to go ahead and put it on the market, going ahead and preparing a sample net sheet to get them to go ahead and list with you. I might send a market trend report. So how many days on average are houses selling? Are sellers getting 98% of list price or 100 or 92? Are they paying seller concessions? Again, any kind of statistical report that you provide, there should be some type of video interpreting it, or you should have some type of bullet points that summarizes those statistics for them. A pre-listing home inspection guide. This is an easy one if someone is even considering selling their house in the spring or summer. We want to give them the most common things that come up on a home inspection. And these are things that you can kind of go look around now and get remedied before we ever put our house on the market. And even if you think you might not sell for 2 or 3 years, if I use this as a lead magnet, I might be able to then, when someone downloads it, that is somebody that I might put on a long-term incubation plan to get them ready for when they are ready to sell. But right now, I want you to take care of some of the home maintenance issues so that we're not dealing with it during the inspection or the appraisal process. I definitely want to talk about case studies of recent sales. So that might be a text or an email that said, I just helped a seller in McKay's Mill get 10% over their asking price. Do you want to know how? That's a very common follow-up that you can send to someone, or a buyer, for example, somebody that you've tried talking to, or maybe you talked to and they just weren't ready. If you have evidence of success, hey, I know that we're going to need our closing costs paid for by the seller. I want to let you know, I just wrote a contract last week. This is on the buyer side, but it works for both sides. I just wrote a contract last week where the seller did pay the buyer's closing costs and they were willing to contribute something towards the buy down. I want to let them know that if it can happen for someone else, the chances are pretty high that it could happen for you too. So evidence of success or case studies that you can show on both the buyer side or the seller side is going to help give confidence that it too could happen for them, right? You also want to use things for sellers like, we have buyers looking in your neighborhood, especially if you come across a listing in the MLS where it is it was just new on the market within the last week, and all of a sudden you see that it's gone under contract. I would call that listing agent and ask, did you have multiple offers? If they said yes, to me that means that let's say there were 8 offers and one obviously was successful in getting it under contract. That means that there are 7 buyers looking to get in that neighborhood. Are they interested in potentially selling? Those are the kinds of things you can send to a seller. Anyway, I also have a couple for investors as well. This property has a specific. Now, I often do this with my investors because they don't reach out to me as often. I get a lot of text messages from investors that just say, hey, we're looking to pick up a property this month, or we want to buy 2 or 3 more houses before the end of the year. I get those all the time, but you will also have a list of investors in your CRM. And sometimes you might be driving around and see an off-market deal, run numbers on it and see, hey, I think this one has a potential of $250,000 worth of profit. Or it could have potential if you could add a second bathroom. I think we could get that cap rate up to maybe 10%. But sometimes doing a cash flow analysis, showing them what the renovated price or value would be of the property after it's fixed up, and what that potential profit might be, helps move the needle to get someone to move forward with, or even just to get them to answer you, right? To get an appointment with you. I have an investment opportunity not listed publicly. That's what they all want. If most investors that I work with, once it's on the MLS, it's no longer the numbers don't work. Usually, not always, but typically, if it's already on the MLS, somebody has already put it in for market value, and that sometimes isn't going to work for the investor. And so most of my investors are looking for off-market properties that I know of that are not quite on the market yet that they have an opportunity to snatch up before someone else does. So you want to position yourself. Do you know of any off-market deals or any off-market properties or any properties that you think we could make an offer on? Even if you were driving around and saw a house that was just not in great condition, there's nothing that says that you can't reach out to those sellers to see, are they interested in an offer? If I were to bring you an offer, would you potentially sell it? That is another way you can generate not only seller leads, but also get your investors to get off the fence by providing them with some off-market opportunity. The same thing with flip opportunities. This house needs some work. I went to a listing appointment where the house probably needed $100,000 worth of work. Then I'm going to come back and go down my investor list and say, you know, hey, I ran into a listing this week that I sat for that needs a lot of work. I do think that there's some potential. I'll run numbers for you if you think it's something you might want to know about, right? I just want to intrigue and pique their interest enough to where they're asking me to run numbers. They're asking for an appointment. They're asking to look at the house. They're asking for more information and want interior pictures. Whatever it is to get them talking to me is how I'm trying to move the conversation from an online cold lead into an appointment or into a signed client. Okay. I'll let you guys read through all of that. There's general items of value too. I will send this to you guys so that you have it. I would definitely recommend that you come through that. But one thing I want you to know is I do not want you to call people and say, I'm just calling to follow up with you. That is redundant. They already know you're following up. Use your language carefully and say, I came across a home that fits what you're looking for. You want me to send details. You want to know what your home is worth. Would you consider selling if the offer was right? Do you want a copy of whatever? Ask a question that forces an answer. Questions about any of that? No? All right, let's talk for a second. I don't know where it really jumped ahead on me. All right, let's go to effective scripts and timing. So I might say what the first time that a client comes into my portal, whether that's through my website, a lead generation portal, or I met somebody out in town, you know, what's your number one home search priority? Is it location? Is it price? Is it timing? Is it condition? What is most important to you? I think that's a question you need to add to your buyer consultations as well, because you need to know whether or not the condition of the home is more important than the price, meaning I would be willing to spend more money if I didn't have to do any work, right? This is my budget, but if the house was perfect, I might be willing to go a little bit above that, right? If it has some of the criteria that is more important to me, I might be willing to spend more money. What is your number one priority? And ask them point blank, is it price? Is it condition? Is it location? Right? Is it timing? Like, is it a specific neighborhood? Is it that it has a fireplace or a bathtub? Right? Day 3, you're going to say, I found a home that might match your criteria. Day 7, you're going to send a market update or invite them to an event, invite them to a coffee, invite them to the event. Can be a buyer consultation. It does not have to be a home buyer seminar or something like that. So when you see invite to an event, you are the event. What do you want that to be? A FaceTime, a Zoom call, a face-to-face coffee, a lunch, a seminar you're hosting, whatever that is, you're trying to get them to engage with you. You're trying to get an appointment with them. And then obviously between 7 and 21 days is a lot. So that's why I don't prefer the 3-3-3. I do have alternative plans for you that are going to be the 5-5-5 and the 10-10-10, which is going to give you every 5 days or every 10 days, you're going to follow this same kind of system. I will also share this with you guys. If you send me an email to lauradahl@epique.me, I'll be happy to share these lead follow-up plans with you. Again, there's a 10-day intensive flow. This is going to be for hot leads. This is going to be somebody who has definitely shown strong interest, but they haven't committed to you yet. They've actually followed prompts. They've filled out a form. They've maybe booked an appointment, whatever it is, but they've actually given you some indication that they are hot, right? Versus balance follow-up is kind of like the middle ground. 10 might be too aggressive. 3 might be too little. 5 might be the perfect middle ground for you. So I have a system for that as well that I'll be happy to share with you. But I want you to understand how to categorize these things, and based on which type of lead it is, if it is a super hot lead, you might want to use a 10-day intensive. It's going to be more frequently, but it's also going to be more direct. I think most people fall in this category, which is someone is interested, but it's not urgent. They're not trying to book an appointment right now. They're not trying to look at houses right now. They are not talking to the lender within 24 hours. These are people that are going to be a little bit longer incubation, a little bit longer to foster that relationship, versus the 333 is best for a cold lead. It is nobody that has answered you, no one that's responded to you, no one has even raised their pinky, much less their hand, to say, I'm interested in real estate services. So you've got to decide what is the best plan for you. One of the things that I love about this business is you get to decide for yourself. What do I want to do? But what I want you to understand is that it takes 7 to 10 touches to actually get a lead to convert them to a client. I want to talk really quickly about the difference between passive lead follow-up and active lead follow-up. Passive lead follow-up keeps you top of mind without direct engagement. This is where I might just hand my business card out to somebody and wait to die before they ever call me. Versus active means I'm going to engage with them to move them towards conversion, to bring them down the pipeline further, to get them to an appointment, to get them to answer me, to get them to do something to show some type of commitment to me, right? Some examples of passive follow-up is going to be email drip campaign. Again, you're sending mass text campaigns, you're sending very unpersonalized messages. Most of those are going to go into spam. Those are passive. They are not engaging. They are not immediate. They're not timely, where I have to answer someone right away. Social media engagement is also kind of passive. You have to take the conversation online and take it offline to where we're making appointments. Retargeting and ads is just putting your face in front of people, but it doesn't require interaction from them. The personalized market reports, if I run a home equity report and I mail it to somebody or I send it in an email, they don't have to engage with me and answer questions. They don't even have to tell me what they thought about the market report unless I have some type of active follow-up that asks them, did you receive the report I sent? What did you think about it? How did you feel about it? Mailing postcards or letters, those are all passive things because they're just going to someone's mailbox. We don't know if they received it, if they opened it, did it go in the trash, and what did they think about it? So some examples of active follow-up are going to be your phone calls, your text check-ins, personalized video messages, where I record a video on my phone that just says, hey, Maria, I just want to let you know I'm a real person. I'm a full-time professional realtor in Western North Carolina, and I specialize in first-time home buyers. I did see that you're looking to make a purchase within the next 6 months, and I would love to get started in that process with you and talk to you a little bit about how I work and how we're going to work together. I want to answer all your questions, but I also want to make sure you're prepared. I want to talk a little bit about the market conditions so that you know what to expect. When is a good time for us to connect? I have Tuesday or Thursday available this week. And if neither of those days work, let me know what day is best for you and I'll see if I can make it work. That's a personalized video message that lets them know that you're human. It lets them know that you're an actual professional realtor, and it asks pointed questions. The same thing with active follow-up is inviting them to an appointment. Hey, can we grab coffee this week and talk about what you're looking for? Do you have time to hop on a quick FaceTime call with me for 5 minutes, or through Facebook Messenger or Zoom or whatever that is, right? I just want to be able to chat with you a little bit more about how I can help you and a little bit more about what you're looking for. I do have a list of engaging questions. So a lot of times when we get leads, after those first 7 or 10 days, we don't know what else to say to them. So I have a list of engaging questions for you that I will also be happy to share with you via email. I will put all these resources together in one document for you, and then you can go back through that and choose how you want to engage with your leads by asking some of these questions. Some of the engaging questions are, again, the purpose of it is to move the needle from just someone who's interested to someone who's committed. And then they will always have some type of soft exit, which is, did I offend you? Was I being too pushy? Is now not a good time? Is there something standing in the way of you hiring me? Have I done something wrong? They are questions that are purposely written and phrased that way to elicit a response, to get them to reply to you. I would rather ask a soft exit question that pushes them a little bit by saying, like, sorry if I offended you, or sorry if I was too pushy, and get an immediate response that says, I'm not interested, than for me to continue to try to nurture this lead for the next 6 months to a year when they've already indicated to me that they are not raising their hand and they're not really interested in moving forward. I would rather know that up front. Don't be afraid to ask those types of questions. You're going to use passive methods to stay top of mind. These are going to be your mailers or things you mail to people or things you just send out without any feedback or response. You are going to identify engaged leads. Which ones are committed? Which ones respond to me? Are they hot? Are they warm? Are they cold? Are they dead? Right? Is it a dead opportunity? Don't call me again. Take me off of your list. Don't email me anything. That's a dead opportunity. Move on. Right? You're going to move these people down the pipeline, and that is why you need your CRM to help you stay organized, to help you set reminders, and you are going to move the people from a cold lead to warm, and then you're going to move somebody from warm to hot, and they may go back down the scale where they started out hot, you even wrote a contract for them, but now they lost interest because the contract didn't go through, and now they've pushed back their timeline. They might go from hot back down to warm, or maybe they're going to go back down to cold right now, and it might not be for another 2 years or so. They rented something for a year. You're going to move them up and down the pipeline based on what their motivation is. When are they ready? And then you're going to focus the majority and bulk of your time on the people that are warm leads and hot leads, that are low-hanging fruit, that are ready in the next 30, 60, 90 days. If they are beyond 30, 60, 90 days, you need to figure out what items of value you're going to send to them to stay top of mind and to keep them engaged, to keep asking them questions, and to find out what along the way, what kinds of resources you can provide to them to keep them engaged with you so that someone else doesn't scoop in the next year and sell the house for them or help them buy another house. Staying top of mind requires intensive thought about how often I want to reach out to these people, in what ways do I want to reach out to them, and what does that look like? I want you to build a follow-up system. I want you to segment your leads and categorize them. Are they cold, warm, or hot? I want you to use your CRM with reminders so that people don't slip through the cracks. Most agents that I know leave thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on the table or lost in their CRM because they don't utilize it. They don't stay in touch with their people. And it is possible for someone else to come in and extract someone from a current relationship if they offer something of value that is more important or more valuable to them than the other person did. If you may already have a relationship with an agent, I know you know 10 of them. But if I am constantly in your face, providing items of value, asking you questions, giving you resources, connecting you with things that matter to you, when the opportunity arises and they do have a real estate need, I want to be the one that they call. I don't want to see my friend's sign in their yard because I'm going to get my feelings hurt. And then that might impact my relationship, but that is always my fault. Did I stay in touch with them? Do they know I'm a full-time realtor? Do they know that I specialize in listings? Or do they make assumptions about my business? The absence of communication breeds assumption. I don't want them to assume anything. I do want you to set a goal. How many leads a month do you need to generate to make the kind of money you want to make? You've got to look at what your conversion rate looks like. If it takes me 12 leads to get one appointment or 20 leads to get one appointment, how many appointments do I need to actually get a listing or a buyer contract? I'm going to go on appointments all day long where people are not really ready. You need to decide what your goal is. How many leads do you need, and how many leads does it take you to get an appointment? How many appointments do you need to get a closing? If you close everything that you list, those don't ever fall apart, you sell everything, then your conversion is going to be much higher. But if I go on 5 listing appointments and I only walk away with 1 listing because those 4 other sellers hired somebody else, I need to go on more appointments to actually get more closings because my conversion rate is low. That makes sense? I hope so. Action steps, I definitely want you to set up a follow-up plan yourself today. You choose, do you want a 3-step, a 5-step, a 10-step? What is the right number for you? Maybe you pick between the 5 and the 10 and you go with 7. But I want you to decide how much is too much. How often do I want to follow up with people? And then I also want you to decide what items of value am I going to send to people? When a buyer lead comes in, I want to know step 1. I am sending them my one sheet that talks about me and my business. Step 2 is going to be a video phone call, asking them for an appointment, asking them to connect with the lender, or asking them to give me search criteria, whatever that is. But I want you to map out what that follow-up plan looks like. What do you do step 1 through step 10 or through step 20, however many steps you have? Script it out and write out what you want to do. What do you want the buyer experience to look like? What do you want the seller experience to look like? And then I want you to try one new script this week. I want you to go through these resources and I want you to practice the follow-up scripts, practice the engaging questions, practice the role playing of, hey, Mary, I saw that you were looking on my website. Get all of the dust off of those follow-ups. Don't worry about being rejected. Don't worry about them saying no. One more no is closer to another yes. If it takes me 20 calls, I know I'm going to get 19 that are no's to get to that 20th, right? Don't worry about that. Practice the scripts so that you feel confident. Practice the scripts or the engaging questions so that you know how to handle those engaging questions. And then I want you to track your results. When you send out an email or a text, which ones do people respond to and which ones do they ignore? How did you phrase it? How did you word it? I also want you to copy and paste those and keep them in the notes section of your phone so that you don't have to retype them every time. You copy and paste. But map out what it is that you want to have done. And then I want you to adjust your strategy accordingly. If what you're writing is not working, you can book a call with me and let's talk about how you need to adjust it. If what you're doing is not working, you rephrase it and pick a different engaging question, pick a different follow-up method, and then notate that and pay attention to what works for you and what doesn't work for you. What did the clients like about what you sent out? How did they engage with it? How did they respond to it? If all you're getting is ignored, I would say either how you're scripting the follow-up isn't working, or you have not qualified enough that person is interested enough, you just continue to send them things, and it's probably passive things. People don't respond to passive things because there's no need to. It does not require action on my part right now. And sometimes you have to say things like, hey, I don't want to bother you. I want to be respectful of your time. But if I don't hear back from you by end of next week, I'm going to assume that you're not interested. And I don't want to continue to bother you. So let me know if I can keep you on my list, or if you'd like to keep continuing to receive these things that I'm sending you. Don't be afraid to say that. If they say, hey, no, I'm not interested, take me off your list. Okay, move on. Replace them with somebody else. There's plenty of people. You don't need to waste your time on a lot of people. Let's chat a little bit. I'm going to just go to this last screen so that you can see it. That just has ways to work with me. Let's talk though while I'm going to leave this up. But do you guys have any questions or comments or situations that you've come into or run into that fit this topic, or that you've struggled with in the past, like getting people to respond to you? Did you find this helpful in terms of knowing what to do and when?
I definitely found it helpful. I think I feel really guilty that I have about 300 or more people sitting in a database that I haven't touched for maybe 2, 3, 4 years.
Okay.
Just depends. So this is a good way to start. I mean, why would it makes sense to talk to people that I have emails and phone numbers for, instead of just
Facing
random
strangers.
stabs at nothing.
Agreed. And I agree with you, Debbie. I think I too fit in this category. Again, I learned a lot of things the hard way in this 25-year career, but I will tell you that one of the very common things is that we've got thousands and thousands of people sitting in our database, but we have some shame wrapped up into the fact that, oh, I haven't talked to them in 3 years. What do I say? Right? And that is a question I get very often. And so I want to tell you the easiest way is to start with an apology. You send an email or a video message that says, Jane, I owe you an apology. I really wanted to stay more in touch with you and to stay in contact more often with you, but life has gotten in the way and life has lifed. But I owe you an apology because you do matter to me and you're important to me. And I feel guilty that we haven't talked as often as we'd like to. Let's fix that. An apology is genuine. You don't have to have all kinds of shame and roadblocks of what do I say now? I haven't talked to this person in 4 years. They're going to know it's a sales call. Well, I hate to tell you, you are in the business of sales, right? You are a service provider. And that requires you to actually make sales statements to them. Like, my business has changed so much in 3 years. I want to catch you up on how I operate now. What I do that's maybe a little different than when we talked the last time. Or you can be very genuinely honest and just say, it's been 4 years since we talked, and I feel really guilty about that. But I want to catch up with you, and I want to know how your family's doing. I want to know how your job is going. I'm sorry to see that you lost your dog. I know that he was very special to you. Whatever it is, start with an apology and just own it. You know what? I didn't do as great of a job following up with you like I had hoped. But I'm starting over this year. I'm turning over a new leaf, or I'm revamping my business, or I just decided I didn't want any more time to go by without connecting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah. Start with an apology, and then don't worry about what their reaction was. You put your head on the pillow knowing that you actually reached out to them and you made attempts to rekindle the relationship. And here's the other part. When it is genuine and authentic, when it comes from a place of actual sorrow, like, I am sorry that I didn't stay in touch with you as much as I wanted to, it will come off as genuine to the people. It doesn't come across as salesy. When you genuinely want to rebuild the connection and work on the relationship instead of just trying to sell them something, it will come across that way. And people will see that for what it is. Okay? So, I am super grateful that you guys all came today. Like I said, if you want to send me an email, lauradahl@epique.me, I'll be happy to share all these resources with you. If you have my phone number, you can also text me at 615-507-0481, and I'll be happy to send you a link to access all of those resources. What I definitely want you guys to hear me and summarizing this today is you must go 7 to 10 touches on cold lead, period. I want you to focus more on active lead generation strategies and active lead follow-up versus passive activities. I want you to ask pointed questions, engaging them, getting them to respond. And I want you to figure out for yourself how often you want to talk to people, what kinds of things do you offer to them as value items, and then how do you move them down the funnel from a cold lead to a warm lead to a client that is actually going to spend money. Okay? Thanks for being here today. I really hope that this was helpful to you. Join me next week, actually, where we are going to continue the conversation and we are going to dive in a little bit deeper on building those client relationships. And I'll post what the topic is on Monday so that you'll know, but it's always going to be here on Thursdays at 1:00 Eastern. And you can check out my socials for the link to that class. You guys have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Laura. I really appreciate that. And I know you'll send me the information. So there's a lot of good things. Like I wanted to listen. I didn't want to write. So I was kind of like half writing, half listening.
Sure.
All listening, not getting everything down on paper that I wanted. So
it's going to be great. I'm going to send all that to you. And then I just want you to go back through it and decide, what do I want to do? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how often do I want to follow up with them? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and I think we are going to get a new CRM. So I'm excited about that because I think it's with it's either Back at You or Real Scout, one or the other.
Okay.
So
either one are great. That every CRM, people ask me all the time, which CRM is your favorite? And you know this from experience, whichever one you will use is my favorite.
Yeah,
I don't care which one you pick. It's whichever one you will actually use. So
but it's not the one I can afford.
I understand it. So you got to work, excuse me, work with what you have. But again, set yourself up reminders so that people don't slip through the cracks. And then definitely make sure that you are engaging with them in a way that gets people to respond to you. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Have a great day, dear. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.